All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Bodybuilding Breakdown. I am joined today by a very special guest. This has been a long time coming. We were just talking about it before we jumped on. Florin, SUPERSETMAN, my friend, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, man. And hello, everybody.
SUPERSETMAN, I can't believe I've actually got you here. We've been trying to line this up for quite a bit, so I'm
Yeah,
really happy we were able to find the time here.
finally, yeah, same here, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. Couldn't get anybody else to jump on. The time difference, it happens with so many people, man. I've been trying to line something up with Fazzy Fitness. That's difficult. Xavier Will's a desktop. He's like 9 hours behind me. So usually he's in bed while I'm awake. So it's
Yeah,
tough to
yeah,
work
I
it out.
figure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to join you guys sometime. And from my part, I try to get up maybe in early mornings of
Oh,
an yeah to get to to be with more guys with desktop with Mark's Max Muscle. I never actually have the conversation with Mark's Max, and he's my the first person in this bodybuilding YouTube community that I've been in touch with since the beginning. He helped me a lot, but I never got to have a conversation with him like this. So I would really love to join you guys sometime.
absolutely. No, we'll make it happen in the future here. But that's one thing that I wanted to ask you about was the beginnings where you said, it was you, Marks Max Muscle. There was really very few back a number of years ago doing this YouTube thing. There's a fair few of us now. But tell me about that. Where did you come up with SUPERSETMAN? Where did the channel actually start?
Yeah, the channel, I started the channel in 2020, in July 2020. So it's gonna be 4 years next month. Yeah, there wasn't as many channels as today, and to be honest, the quality of the channels or the contents, what I say, it was lower than today. I was saying same thing in a recent video I posted, and sometimes when I chat with you guys on Instagram. Like when I started watching bodybuilding and really understand it, it was around 2017. Because before that, I always liked to lift because I grew up on countryside. Everything I could get my hands on, it became a dumbbell or a barbell. I've been a sporty person, so to say, but I never knew the sport of bodybuilding that way. I knew about Arnold, that he was a bodybuilder, but without knowing what competitive bodybuilding really is. I knew about Ronnie Coleman. I mean, the internet was full, the YouTube was full of his videos, but I never knew that Ronnie was actually the one that was holding the record in bodybuilding. Because when when seeing him training, I always thought he was a power lifter. So one
Oh,
day,
yeah.
yeah, one day I thought to myself, let me see what's about this sport of bodybuilding. Who holds the records and stuff like that? Because I'm also a sports fan, like football fan. We guys call it soccer in US, but here in Europe, soccer is a huge
Yeah.
thing. So, statistics and numbers. And I thought, let me see what bodybuilding is about. And I was surprised to see Ronnie Coleman, because I thought he was a powerlifter, and he's a he's a bodybuilder. And yeah, and I knew briefly about bodybuilding. And then I knew about Phil Heath. He was the current bodybuilder, probably 2015, 2016. I knew he was the current bodybuilder, but I had no idea what competitive bodybuilding is about. And then in 2017, a video on YouTube popped up right after the Olympia with Rami and Phil Heath. And I started watching it, and I couldn't get my head around why Rami lost, because my untrained eye was seeing a huge guy with a huge chest losing to a smaller guy. And I didn't understand why. And this intrigued me. And this is I started to watch bodybuilding daily. I started to watch bodybuilding more than football, more than anything else. It it was something, man. I was hooked in. And Nick Straight and Power was my main source. He was becoming huge at that time. He wasn't what he is now, but he was starting to do regular good content. And I learned a lot from his channel and Tominator. Uh, One thing people sometimes ask me about Louis Marco, I didn't knew about Louis Marco uh, at that time. I discovered him lately, and I discovered that he was actually the inspiration for the guys that inspired me. But I didn't watch Louis Marco when he was probably off YouTube at the time already, so probably that's why. So yeah, this is how getting back to the point, this is how I got into bodybuilding. I was eating everything, man, that I could find on bodybuilding from any channel. Ivan Bodybuilding, Mark's Max Muscle, Mikey's Iron Rage was pretty huge
Oh
back
yeah, I
then.
remember Mikey. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Muscle Mutant that he stopped uploading in 2020 before I started my channel. I saw once a funny comment that people were saying that I'm Muscle Mutant because yeah, I don't know what he's up to, but he was a huge inspiration for me, and I got to, at least in my mind, get to understand bodybuilding better to the point where I thought where I was kind of finding things that I couldn't agree with, or things that I thought I had a better view maybe, or a different view, and I thought, what if I should start to express my own opinions and start my own channel? And it was 2020, the virus year. We had plenty of time locked in our houses, and I started to build my database because I always try to focus on, because somehow I'm aware that I have a disadvantage because English is not my native language. And I always felt that I had to compensate this with something else to
So
to be at the
I
same level with others.
okay, I have a question for you when it comes to that. So you're located in Istanbul.
No, no, in Romania, but it's the same
Oh, I'm
time zone
sorry.
with Istanbul. That's why I wrote you. Yeah.
Oh,
Istanbul
okay.
and Bucharest have the same time zone in
Okay, you're
Romania. In
in
Romania.
Romania. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Do you find, especially back in 2020, did you find that bodybuilding was, say, less accessible because it's less of a popular sport over there when it comes to the IFBB Pro League? Like, did you really have to go out of your way to find this information, or was it, did you find it fairly accessible when you did start looking for it?
Um, Actually, from my knowledge, bodybuilding like IFBB Pro League and this league is not that popular here. It's very popular in other countries, like in the Eastern, in the Middle East or Africa or it is becoming more popular in Europe as well. But it's not like a huge thing in Romania, bodybuilding. I mean, people love to work out and stuff like this. Like people take care of their physiques, but I don't see them like interested in competitive bodybuilding. Sometimes I'm I'm talking with guys in the gym maybe, and they don't know about competitive bodybuilding. Maybe they know some local guys like Romanian guys competing on some amateur shows, but they are not really into that much into that. From what I experienced, maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know, but it's not that huge like you see in these Middle East countries, for example.
Okay, yeah, I get you. I get you. So when it comes to the channel, though, Superset Man back in 2020, where did you come up with that name, Superset Man?
Man, I'm an overthinker, and I knew it had to be because for me it sounds good. I mean, I loved it, and I spent a lot of time actually until I got to this. It wasn't like I need a name, let's do it with the first thing. No, I think I spent weeks in finding this name. I really thought about this. I need to make it I need it needed to for me to like it, to love it, and then for anybody else. So yeah, I spent a lot of time. I didn't have any too many editing skills. I had like my first logo was similar to what I have now, to this print that I have on my t-shirt as well, but it was something like more 2D. But I've worked a lot. I didn't have editing skills, but I tried to do my best, and I got to this logo, and I knew it. This has to be like, it's similar to Superman. It's like the badge with Superman, but it's about muscle and bodybuilding. So we have reflexing arm there, and yeah. I spent quite some time thinking about this. I'm an overthinker, right?
But so the logo that you do, but actually for just a few weeks, it's actually pretty good considering. I went through a couple of different logos before I arrived on the one that I have now. Um, the first couple I really weren't happy with, but it did work at the time, and I'm definitely happy with where it's at now. But for the sake of a few weeks, it's the logo. It works. It absolutely works. The name of the channel is something that's very, very well known in this space at this point. You've gotten multiple shout outs from places like Nick Strength and Power, and I've seen it from different Instagram pages, Spies and Tries, Bodybuilders Without Borders. They're resharing your stuff. I think Fuad reshared some of your stuff at one point too, or probably more than one point. The comparisons are unlike anything that you'll find out there. There's plenty of channels doing comparisons, but you've got some uniqueness when it comes to some of the comparisons that you do, like the point system that you came up with. Tell me about that. Where did you develop that point system when it comes to critiquing the physiques and going beyond what we find in current day judging in bodybuilding? Tell me about some of that.
Yeah. First, as a disclaimer, I'm not a judge, so I know people love to critique this, and you're not a judge, you're not a competitor, and you have no right to a professional opinion, whatever. But I find myself pretty often disagreeing with what happens, like with the scores or the results of some or different competitions. And I pretty much state that in my videos. Maybe sometimes it's annoying. It may be a cultural difference as well, because maybe Americans or some other people from other countries don't get to the point as directly, or at least this is the way I see it. Sometimes it may be look rude. At least this is how I see it. But I like to say it as I see it, and I always know that I can be wrong, and I'm wrong probably most of the times. I'm not pretending I'm right, but like, I have an opinion. I want to share this opinion, and let's discuss about it. Because if everyone agrees from the beginning and shares some opinions that are not really theirs, we can get anywhere. I mean,
But
I
you
can
but you
admit.
really found a unique sorry to cut you off, but you found a
Sure.
uniqueness when it comes to that opinion in the scoring system that you developed when it comes to each of the mandatory poses. So for those who might be unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, certainly everybody make sure that you're going and follow SUPERSETMAN. I'm sure that most on this channel are subscribed and are familiar with your content. But tell me about the point system that you developed and where you came up with that.
Yeah, it was about the time when, after the 2023 Arnold Classic, when Nick Walker lost to Samson Dauda. And yeah, I'm admit, I'm a Nick Walker fanboy, if you want to say it. But I always thought that who wins more mandatories should win a show. But I could see the argument that maybe you win 4 or 5 mandatories barely, and the other guys totally dominates in the other 3 mandatories. So you have to quantify somehow. It cannot be only you win 4, maybe most of them are almost ties, and the other one completely dominates in the you win 5, very very tight, and the other one wins 3 mandatories, totally dominating. You cannot say that that guy won 5 and he's the winner. So that's how I came up with this scoring system, trying to quantify, trying to make as objective as possible, something that is really very subjective indeed, like a visual sport where everybody has different opinions. It's not like in football you score a goal and that's a goal. If the ball hits the net, or in basketball, it's not objective as that, or in combat sports. If you there you have, but you still have like points, like how many times one individual got hit or defended good a hit. But in bodybuilding is subjective. It's like in dancing, or I don't know about all the other sports. So this is, I always try to find an objective way to look at it. So I
So
have a video that I'm planning to upload in the near future, and you will see we'll see what it's about. It will be about the idea of a night mandatory pose. I will try to make it
that's interesting.
yeah, I will try to make it somehow that maybe important people see that. I know that maybe my style of presenting things it's not the most ideal one. Sometimes it's more unorthodox, so to say. People maybe don't like it, but maybe someone hears it, and I think I have a good point. I'll leave it like that. I'll upload that video in the following days.
Okay, okay. On you think your opinion can be unorthodox or your presentation can be unorthodox at times?
Yes, I feel like it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm always aware of that. But when you state your opinion directly, it can offend people. It can offend people, and this is where I think some people may not like this type of content because I'm not. If let's say if someone looks bad, I'm gonna say he looks bad. He lost that pose. He needs to. I'm not gonna like manage him like in a way to look good.
So
But
you don't concern
maybe I'm
yourself.
wrong. Maybe I have a wrong opinion about how this is perceived about me. I don't know. I don't know. It may be.
Well, I can tell you as someone that started YouTube roughly about a year and a half ago and being a fan of your channel for literally, a couple of years before that. When I was just watching, I would watch yourself, Marks Max Muscle. There was, like you said, Nick Strength and Power, even bodybuilding over there. I watch his channel regularly, RX
Yeah, yeah.
Muscle. You would go out of your way to find multiple opinions, and you can do with them what you will. I always took them as just trying to formulate my own opinion based on what others were presenting out there. So when you say that your presentation and your opinion maybe is unorthodox, that's interesting to me because I just find that as a fan, I would go and try and seek out these opinions to try and get a different perspective. And maybe that's just how I would approach things because there's a lot of people that jump on channels, and you're right. There's a lot of people that just jump on and they say, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're absolutely out of your mind. There's no way that this guy could have won. But that's the interesting thing about how you're presenting this. Like when it comes to, I know I keep going back to it, but the point system, there's a dominant win where you will give a green light. There's a slight win where you'll give a yellow light. And then there's more points awarded based on that. That gives it a little bit less subjectivity almost when it comes to an increased accountability of the physiques. And that's what I really found interesting. But the other thing that you would do when it comes to your opinion, and I can tell that maybe you're a little bit unsure of yourself when it comes to that opinion and putting it out there and what people might think about it. And I can understand that, I can absolutely understand. Not just from the fans, but especially from some of the pros. Like I've had times when I would speak about some of the pros and then I get messages and be like, I see you, man. Like I see you. Good or bad, right? Like if I place a guy wherever and these guys are realistic about where they're at as well, and they really enjoy the challenge. That's why they're the best in the world. They'll take that with a grain of salt and use it either as fire. And if it's going to break you, then you're not going to be a pro. And especially taking my opinion. But aside from that, you also would issue SUPERSETMAN challenges to other YouTube channels. I've been a part of one of them. It was actually for the 2022 Arnold Classic against Nick Walker, Samson Dauda. Those were the two big matchups there because although Samson won, myself, Marks Max Muscle, you,
Everybody.
uh,
It
yeah, everybody when it came to breaking down the mandatory poses
had Nick
had
winning.
Nick
Yeah.
Walker winning, and that was without considering your point system, which came later. So I think that there is a uniqueness when it comes to us having an opinion. But I always enjoyed the SUPERSETMAN challenges because of that, but especially that one because I mean it was the first one I was invited to be a part of, which was great. But yeah, everybody had Nick winning that one. And even when you went to the comments sections, a lot of people were like, yeah, now that you guys are breaking it down, like
Yeah, I can
Nick
see it.
should,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Nick should
People.
have been awarded more so for his insane conditioning. I mean, look at what just happened at the New York Pro. Well, Nick wasn't as conditioned and he was
Yeah.
penalized. if the 2022 Arnold Classic version of Nick Walker would have showed up at this New York Pro, would he be more of a dominant champion than what we saw at the 2024 New York Pro? You know, that would be actually that would be a good comparison for you. That'd be something cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
a big
and
Nick Walker fan too.
yeah, and I will tell you why I'm a Nick Walker fan, because when I look at bodybuilding, I don't focus that much on the frame or the aesthetics. I see the muscle groups. And with Nick Walker, I don't see any weak muscle group. I mean, I see biceps, I see triceps, I see forearms. Maybe it goes back to my perfect bodybuilding physique series when I was breaking up and building the perfect bodybuilder. Man, you can take every Nick Walker muscle group and put it on a better frame, and that's your perfect bodybuilder. This is why I value more like to be complete from muscle group or muscle group than aesthetics. This is how I see things. I love mass monsters more than aesthetics. I mean, of course, if you have them both, of course, the more aesthetic guy should win, but it should never be aesthetics over muscle in bodybuilding. This is how I see things. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and we have to find the middle ground, of course. But this is a good fan base of people who wants to see pure muscle and bodybuilding. Of course, we don't want to see bubble guts. I'm not talking about that. But if you have a midsection like Nick Walker, flat, striated, even though it's wide as hell and he actually looks like a fridge, sometimes but he is the best in the world for me today when he's on.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big Nick Walker fan. When I first started my channel, that was one of the first videos I made was when him and Blessing were having that beef. Blessing went on RX Muscle and was calling him a brick and everything like that. And especially when it came to that 2022 Olympia press conference, Nick absolutely destroyed Blessing. You know, he gave him everything that he had coming to him, man. And I really
And
enjoyed that
he
too.
was
I
savage.
really, yeah. Oh man. Well, what did Nick say to him? He said, yeah, I don't talk to guys in the third call out. And
The
Blessing was
third
like,
one. If
what was he
we
dead
was in the
last, I
fourth
think?
call out, I believe, actually.
Yeah, I think yeah. Oh, Blessing did not place well. I think he came in like I think he was 16th in that show. He did
But the
not do well, man.
2022 Olympia was that Olympia where we had 30 and something competitors. And we had a lot of call outs. And Blessing was in the dead last one. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that
know
was an insane year.
I know ranking stops at 16, I believe. But if we
Yes.
were ranked until 30 something, Blessing would have been 30 something place. So it was bad for him. But actually I like his physique. When he's on, he's pretty good. But he can't put it together, I guess.
I agree. He is starting to gain that amount of mass, which I agree with you. I think that when it comes to bodybuilding, first and foremost, it is a muscle contest. You know, muscularity is number one. And then you have everything else that comes after that: muscularity, conditioning, shape, flow. These are all the things. But if you don't have the muscle to start, then I mean, this is bodybuilding. It's just
Yeah.
it's just how it
And
is. That's what my eyes always drawn to.
that's why
Yeah, that's
Phil
what
Heath is actually my all-time favorite, because just like Nick
Phil Heath
Walker,
is.
he's complete. I mean, no weak muscle group. I mean, he was insane. I mean, I agree. Ronnie Coleman at his best is the undisputable GOAT. I will always say it. He's just too big for Phil, and he has the paper thin skin and the wow factor with his biceps and the wide shoulders that Phil lack, but muscle group or muscle group and completeness and all that stuff. Phil is the GOAT for me.
No, absolutely. I always enjoyed the comparisons. Actually, you talked about Mikey's Iron Rage. He was the first one that I saw do the comparison between Phil Heath and Ronnie Coleman for the all-time title of bodybuilding.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty
he
sure
was
Ronnie
so
Coleman took it.
entertaining, man. I loved his content back then.
Yeah, he was unique. That's when YouTube was a lot different too, right? It was a little bit more of the Wild West. You could get away with a lot more and
Yeah,
still be monetized then. That's why he had to stop, was because of the monetization issues. He got shut down.
but he got into some weird stuff, stealing content from Mark's Max Muscle without asking. I find that wrong. And Mark's Max, I consider Mark's Max Muscle as my friend, and I'm in team Mark's Max Muscle in that one.
No, I am as well. When Mark was telling me about that, it certainly changed my perspective on Mikey's Iron Rage. That's for
It
sure.
sucks because you know how much you have to work to put in, to how much work you put in into this, and someone to just come and steal your work and and without asking. But because I'm pretty sure Mark would have gave him the pictures himself if Mikey asked. I'm sure about it, but he didn't.
100%.
Yeah.
No, he didn't, and that's just it. It does take a lot of work. It's a serious time commitment, especially Mark. Mark is very, very dedicated to this. This is what
Yeah,
he does full time. He puts out a video. I don't remember the last time I saw him miss. He's got over 3,000 videos at
yeah,
this
man,
point, man.
crazy.
He's a machine. It's insane.
You know, the thing with Mark's Max Muscle is that everyone in this bodybuilding community space, because yeah, we're friends and I love to have like this relationship, but it's obvious that we're also competing against each other for viewerships, because sometimes if you have a comparison, if one will watch that certain comparison on a channel, he's not going to be interesting to see all of them. I mean, it depends, but some people see it once and they don't so somehow we compete for that. And I'm saying that we all are lucky that Mark's Max Muscle is a newbie when it comes to editing skills, because his talent with comparing and his voiceovers, and man, he's the GOAT. I mean, he can be a radio host, or man, he's so good and so underrated. Man, I always laugh when I see his videos because they are both educating and entertaining as hell. I find myself showing to my wife, laughing by myself, and come and see this what this guy is saying, and I burst off laughing. It's crazy how good he is. So
And this is
he's so
just it.
underrated. And if he had, I'm maybe I'm bragging about myself, but if he had maybe my editing skills, he would be like 1 million subscribers. I don't want to overrate what I do, but he is that good on what he does that if he knew about editing a bit more, he would be. But he will become huge eventually. Anyway, he's the best at what he's doing for sure.
No, he is. I really like Mark's approach because without having all the flashy editing and all that other fun stuff, it just puts the emphasis more on one, the physiques, and two, himself as just being himself and being a commentator. So that's why it works for Mark. That's why it really works because there's nothing else to focus on. I mean, you look at the stuff that we do and you make it interesting. And that's just something that I enjoy to do as a content creator is making it look a certain way. That's actually why I wanted to start my channel because I was looking around at some of the channels, not to throw any dirt on Nick Strength and Power, but man, his videos have not changed since he started. There's no evolution in the content, and he's had such a massive opportunity, in my opinion, in order to step up his game when it comes to the reach that he has in bodybuilding. I mean,
I agree.
you talk about aside from the editing portion, you just look at what we have started in the last, I would say, year here on YouTube. And I shouldn't even say we, I'll get to that in a second as to what really took place. But the community here on YouTube now, when it comes to those of us that create bodybuilding content as commentators and having our opinion, has certainly increased when it comes to the communication between channels. Now, that was actually something that you had a pretty big hand in. It was about a year ago where suddenly I got a message on Instagram of a group chat with me, you, Mark, Xavier at desktop. There was Project Bodybuilding that was in there. Jake Ultimate Fitness. So the
Goat fit.
community is there. Krishan at Go Fitness, absolutely. But with NSP, he really keeps to himself.
Yeah, yeah.
You
He's
don't
not.
see
He's not.
him.
He's not doing that.
He's not involved within this community, and that's always something that kind of confused me because it's really been increasing the reach for everybody. Do you think that he just feels like he's on another level, or he's just not interested in having any other interaction beyond what he's doing on his channel? What do you think about that?
The way I see it, honestly, is that he really became he became pretty huge to the point that he's bigger than most of the guys he he most of the professional, the bodybuilders he's talking about. I
No,
mean,
he's bigger than everybody.
he's
I
bigger
mean,
than the guys he is reporting on his videos.
he
So
is.
somehow I never got to that notoriety, so to say. I don't know how it is. Maybe he has like plenty of DMs every day, and of course you cannot deal with all that. But yeah, like you said, on one part, yeah, I give him that. He's become pretty huge, and I'm sure he's got a lot of DMs and stuff like that. He can't handle with all that. But on the other hand, he is not, like you said, he's not giving back to the community like all the other guys are trying to do. And maybe I don't know, maybe when some other people will get as huge as Nick will become like him, because it's that saying, you die a hero or live longer to see you become the villain, or something like that. Maybe when you get to that point, that's how things are. I don't know. I give him that. The benefit of the doubt. But yes, I do agree that he can do more with from what I'm looking at right now. I feel like he can do more for the community. He can help out. Maybe he's not gonna be around doing this for much longer. He may help other channels grow. He may shout out maybe some. I find desktop bodybuilding very underrated. He's doing basically what Nick is doing, but showing his face, doing live stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of extra things that Nick doesn't do. Same thing, Ivan bodybuilding. He does pretty much the same content similar to Nick. I know they have their
They
sometimes
have
their
different
feud.
opinions, that's for sure.
Yeah, they have their feuds, at least from Ivan's side. I'm aware of that as well. But and to get to you, man, I mean, I saw what you're doing. I mean, you are very good with editing, and I told you that I like the production of your stuff. I mean, so how much time do you have doing this? You have like 2 years
I
or
started in I started at 8 weeks out of the 2022 Olympia. That's when I
okay,
started.
so less than 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone like Nick Street and Power, Marks Max Master, myself, Desktop, no one was as good as you, in my opinion, in their first 2 years. So this is what I see with you, or Project Bodybuilding, for example. You guys started strong. I mean, when I go back and look at some of my older stuff, I cringe very often, I admit, but your stuff is point on. And if you projecting this into the future, when you'll get like that name for yourself, like Nick Street and Power has, if you'll be able to stay on this, I think you can be huge, man. You have a style, and I can see that you're focusing on editing. That it's very important nowadays with YouTube, because everyone competes for that viewership. You need to have that retention, you need to have that click-through rate, and you're doing a fantastic job with that.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's something I had a background in when it comes to video editing before I started YouTube. So, although I didn't have as much experience when it comes to some of the editing software and setting up, pristine sound when it comes to microphones, cameras, things like that, lighting. These are all things that I did have some experience with when it came to my commercial diving company. Because a lot of people don't know this. My father actually had a TV show that gained some national attention here. It was called Cape Breton Diver, where my father would go to various dive sites all around where we live here on Cape Breton Island, and he would take underwater video, and he would actually do commentary over his underwater video with another guy that actually worked in the shop at the time. So not only that, but they would do a couple of different segments on the show. Like he would start with the introduction. This is the site that we're going to go to, but they would also do things like tech talks where they would talk about different types of diving gear, how things work, how things are inspected, how to maintain pieces of equipment, training, and things like that. Right. So my father and I don't think I've ever spoken about this on YouTube before. My father actually took audio visual in high school and then did 10 years of this TV show, Cape Breton Diver, which actually he put on YouTube. And it was really interesting. So when I was younger, I would actually take the tapes of Cape Breton Diver from the TV studio, and I'm dating myself, but I would transfer them from tape onto DVDs because we had a DVD burner, and we would keep those as the records of the Cape Breton Diver episodes. So he actually took those DVDs and uploaded them to YouTube. And when he did, the audio is terrible. I was like, man, you should have gave me these things first so I could have tried to fix it up a little bit. But beyond that, when I took over 10 years ago, I've done, I would say, if I was to put a number on it, it's got to be over 1,000 diving videos that I've edited and uploaded myself at this point. Now I don't do commentary over them aside from when we're actually diving, except for one time when I screwed up some audio. But I had to do that. But I'd actually go to my way to be like, well, I wonder what other diving companies are sending out there and if I can do it better, you know? So I would actually try and put an equalizer on the audio because underwater audio is not the best out there. So I would put an equalizer on it. It would sound really good. I ordered HD cameras. It looked really good. I would actually structure the dive around making sure that it was very well organized and so these were the origins for me when it came to making videos, and a lot of that was skills that I was able to transfer over to YouTube to do what I'm doing now. But
Yeah, I can
like,
see that. I noticed that. Yeah.
yeah, and you talked about the origin of your channel. That's what I was doing when I first started. I was looking around at other channels and I was like, man, I really think that I could make a run at this and make it, look good. And the biggest thing for me was I'm like you. Bodybuilding is not a prevalent sport in my area. It's not big. There's no big bodybuilding gyms like you'll see around like Pure Muscle and Fitness up in Ontario or, any of these meccas that you would find around. They don't exist here. There are no IFBB pros. And all of my friends that were really into competitive bodybuilding just on a local level, well, eventually, everybody grows up and has kids and moves away and blah, 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 blah. It happened. So I didn't have an outlet. I needed to talk about bodybuilding. And so that's where I came to the origins of my channel. So I just started just making videos, and I was getting pretty good views, pretty much right away. My subscriber count is something that's steadily growing, but for the views that I get versus
Yeah,
the subscriber count, actually, I think it's pretty good.
yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up. This is an obnoxiously large coffee cup, and I didn't realize how stupid it would look on video, but here we are. No, this is how I'm gonna start my morning. I'll do this. Actually, when I jump off of here, I'm gonna edit another video and then probably go train, get a couple of the things done for work, and like you were saying before we jumped on here, like 5 a.m. every day for me, and I've talked about this with a number of other channels too. That's the other cool thing is getting invited on like Canadian Beef podcast with other bodybuilding pros and things like that. Like really, really cool. I didn't think it would be at that point right now, right? But yeah, that's one of the keys, like being able to organize yourself to continue to make content, but still live your everyday life off of YouTube because this is not my full-time gig. This is not your full-time gig either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's really,
I'm a software developer. Yeah. So
you're a software developer?
yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense as to why you've got, the increased skills when it comes to editing. I get it.
Yeah, yeah. I spent a lot of time on my computer. Yeah, but what I do in software development, it's not like image or footage editing and stuff like that. But yeah, I know my ways with computers, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. It's the transferable skills and really finding those correlations between skills, which will allow you to probably evolve a little bit quicker than maybe others could. You cut that learning curve. Do you find that you were able to kind of cut that learning curve?
Yeah, yeah, and like I mentioned in the beginning, this was one of my main focuses. I always tried like my content to be like my images and footage and editing to be a bit better from the rest, because I'm aware that I have some things that are less good than the others. Like I told you, the English not being my native language, and maybe my voice and stuff like this is not like Max Master who could host a radio show anytime. Like I'm aware of my bad skills, so to say. So I always try to compensate with that part, with editing, and I have to mention, I never like my final product. I always think that I can do better, and sometimes I rush things because sometimes I'm very busy. Last year I had a really busy year. I could have, if I had the time, I would do things way different than what I do, to be more cinematic, to stuff into that stuff. But I do what I can do for the moment. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. If this is something where I could dedicate 8 hours a day to it, it would be completely different. Completely different. I would have even better quality than what I'm putting out there now. I don't know about you, but for me, I can take anywhere from, I'm going to say, from start to finish, like from the first piece of content that I'll pull to finishing the thumbnail and uploading, anywhere from, I'd say, 3 to 5 hours per video. Mostly somewhere in around that 3 to 4 hour mark. How long would it take you to do, say, an 8 to 10 minute video of a typical comparison?
It depends on the video. In the years, last year or so, I try to automate everything as much as I can. I mean, I have a database with every picture and with every piece of footage. Like you saw with my newer channels that I'm synchronizing like the footage, so the every mandatory will be hit at the same time, is synchronized with any other one. So I'm not gonna spend like for every side-by-side video footage comparison to edit everyone. So if I already have Ronnie Coleman, I can use that with whoever I want in a comparison. So I try to do this. To answer your question, it depends on the type of video. If it's a comparison, it will be a few hours. Yeah. It will
Yep.
be I can get it done in a couple of hours or so. But if it's I don't know, a countdown and a historical, a breakdown of something, it can take longer. I sometimes spend days on a video like this one I'm preparing right now with the night mandatory pose. So yeah, I have some idea, and I have a list of ideas somewhere in a notepad with videos I would like to make and ideas, but I always need to get back to that.
Do you think YouTube is
But yeah,
something that you'd like to see you do full time in the future? Like, is that the goal for you to be a full time YouTuber?
that's a good question that probably I have to answer to myself first, because I don't think I know the answer. I I honestly I love it. I mean, I love bodybuilding, and to be able to make money, to to have my salary, so to say, so to my income from this, I would love it. But I'm pretty aware that from doing this, it's pretty difficult to get to the level where I'm at with software development, like to give up on that. I like more bodybuilding than software development, I admit. If I would win the same money from YouTube, yes, I would do YouTube. But I'm pretty aware that it's hard for that to happen. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So I can't answer that question very directly. So I don't know. I would love to do it, but at the same time, I'm aware it may not be possible. So I will
Well,
always, like I stated in one of my videos, I will always get back to this. I mean, I had a huge break this year at the beginning of the year. I had a rough start of the year on my personal level, personal life, but I will always come back to this. I mean, maybe I hope that's not gonna happen, but maybe sometimes I'm not gonna upload for 1 year, maybe in 5 years, I'll be back at some time. I mean, because I love bodybuilding and I think I have a point of view and I love to share it with the community, and I'll always be around.
I understand exactly what you mean. It is very difficult, especially in a space like bodybuilding and fitness, to be able to break into that really niche audience where it can sustain you full time because it's difficult. You know, YouTube does not pay what it used to pay. Everybody's aware of that.
Yeah,
It
the
is
views are down, man. I mean, I'm seeing it. Nick Straight
lately
and
the
Paul,
views are down.
keep
I've
doing
been looking at everybody's channels, man. The views are
everybody.
down for everybody lately. Now, me as a content creator, I look at that and I'm like, fuck, man, like I'm putting out the same quality content. I'm still talking about, you know, the same guys. They're making progress. They look insane, you know. My production quality, you know, is going up. I'm
Yeah,
doing
always
different things.
increasing. Yeah, and the
Yeah,
views are
but the
low.
views now, I don't know why that is because it's across the board. And I don't think it's because the market's so saturated because there's no there's not an exuberant amount of new channels that are popping up here. So I cannot explain exact and not just us. I look at other channels too, some of the pro bodybuilders that were getting, you know, a few thousand views. They're not getting them right now. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I was noticing that as well with Nick Straight and Power. I mean, he used to have like at least 100K for every video, and now he's like half of that
Yeah,
regularly.
are people becoming less interested? I don't think so. You know, I think bodybuilding is actually growing. So the fact that the views are not growing is very, very puzzling to me.
Bodybuilding definitely is growing. I mean, the interest I see on the internet and especially on Instagram on bodybuilding is definitely bigger than 4 years ago when I got into this. But like you said, I don't know all the details. Maybe it's with the YouTube algorithm or something. I don't want to find excuses. I don't know, man. It would be interesting to know why.
It would be. No, it would be. Like you said, it's across the board, which makes it very puzzling. Very
Yeah.
puzzling. However, I think that these things do come in waves. My personal opinion is that if the YouTube algorithm, if you want to blame it on that, is something that's maybe not necessarily picking up this type of content right now, it certainly will swing back around. It certainly will.
Yeah, yeah. It goes in
On the other
circles.
hand, yeah, you are seeing other channels that are getting very good views right now. Even bodybuilding has been getting more and more views. Fazzy Fitness has continued to get the views that he's gotten. So I often ask myself, is it something that I could be doing better in order to gain those views? Could I be doing a better title, a better thumbnail, anything to say, how do I either make my content stand out, pick up the YouTube algorithm, a combination of both? These are all the questions as to how I really want to continue to push the channel forward and keep getting those views, man, because look, none of us are trying to pull any punches there. We want the views. You know, we absolutely want the views. Now the content has to be there, the quality has to be there for the fans, you know, and for myself, you know. I don't want to put anything out there that's any less. But yeah, that's what we're after, you know?
Yeah, one thing may be that social media content becomes spicier every day, like more drama, uh,
Mm.
more. It's hard to get to that viewership, that viewer's attention. So maybe I don't want to bash on the guy that you see what bodybuilding NBS, uh, what success he had on YouTube. I mean, yeah, bodybuilding MBS. He had a
Oh,
YouTube
you
channel.
you you can bash on him, man. He bashes on everybody else. Bash him.
Yeah,
He'll
he
take it.
he he was huge on YouTube, and it got down for whatever reasons. But he was becoming huge because of the type of the content he made. I mean, he's talented. Like in what he was doing, he was the best. I mean, for that type of content that also Greg Doucette does in in a way. And I think people prefer that kind of to say like the big pool, the majority of people, the pop culture, if you want to call it, prefer that kind of material. So even though there are people that love to see like educating stuff like, or news reporting like this, most people will always go to that spicy type of content, like that drama, that negativity. It is what it is today, and it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. So this I think this is one of the big factors, and I'll tell you why. Because Nick Strength and Power and Greg Doucette got to 1 million subscribers right about the same time. And now Greg has over 2 million and Nick has 1.3 or something.
1.36, yeah.
That tells you a lot, I think. Because Nick, even though he didn't change his content, he's still rocking. I mean, if you wanna if you're interested on the news, you'll find it there. Maybe his opinions are too, how people say, politically correct. It doesn't matter. You can make your own opinion, but he's still reporting the news. That's good quality content from my point of view. But not everything that Greg does is good quality content, in my opinion. Maybe I don't think I'm that big to be on his radar, but he can say whatever he wants about me. He can educate. He's a pro. He has his stuff, but most of his stuff is negativity, is clickbait. I can respect that, but it's not ideal for me. Yeah, it's not what I like. And I went to that path as well. I tried that myself. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I've tried everything with YouTube. I'm always trying. I'm testing stuff. I even got demonetized at one time. I
Oh,
was
really?
doing like 2 years ago. I I find like a niche with these clickbaity titles, and I was getting huge viewership from reactions and stuff like that. And I saw that people want to see that. And I made good money from ads at the time, but then I got demonetized and I went back to my regular stuff because it was almost like I sold my soul for me at that time, but I had to test to see that. And I saw that people want to see that. And after that, I saw a lot of channels that was created and probably got inspired by that because they were stealing my thumbnails and my stuff. I don't want to name everyone, but there are still channels that do this regularly after, and because it works, because it gets views and it gets money. So this may be a reason to get back to the original idea, a reason why this bodybuilding content, regular stuff that we do, may not get, one of the factors that we may not get so many views anymore.
Sure, it might be, but it would be difficult for me to live in that headspace on a regular basis when it comes to the amount of straight up negativity.
Yeah, it
It's
is what
just,
it is. I don't know. I can't do
well,
it myself.
see, I don't think it is what it is, to be honest with you, man. I don't think it is what it is at all. I think that people actually either have to go well out of their way in order to create that headspace, or if that's the headspace that they live in on a regular basis, obviously it sells, but man, it's got to be a little bit difficult to sleep at night. I mean, maybe it's not that difficult when it comes to, millions of dollars like Greg's making or something like that. Maybe that's enough of a motivator, but a lot of them call it their honest opinion. Nick always
I
called
feel
it his
that.
honest opinion. Like, well, Nick Trigili, Greg Doucette just calls it his honest opinion. But especially Nick, man, it was just so overly negative. And he actually put it on his story here recently with this whole Fuad versus him thing. Even that content, I looked at it and I was like, am I going to comment on this? And I looked at it and I was like, no, no, I'm not. Does it fall within my channel to make videos like that? Perhaps, perhaps. Could I easily put it within a news video? Yeah, I could. But is it really the type of content that I'm looking to make in particular? I mean, not really. I'm not that negative of a person. I'm not in that headspace. I mean, look, if anybody on YouTube calls me out or I strongly disagree with someone, or if they frankly piss me off, I might have something to say about it. I have in the past. But just the negative drama content on a regular basis is not where I live. It's not my headspace. It's not where I want to be as a person, as a content creator. it's not
Yeah,
my bag. And if
I get
that
it.
costs me views at the end of the day, if that costs me views and subscribers, well, look, so be it. I make good money when it comes to my diving company. I'm happy with where I'm at and with my content right now. And I have ideas in order to keep pushing the channel forward where I don't have to go to, I will say, that level.
Yeah, yeah, I
That's me.
agree. And I can speak from experience because I tested that myself, and it's not a good feeling, as you said. Yeah, I
Sanch
will.
did it too. Sanch actually did it. He made a bit of a rips and rants thing about Bob Chicarillo once, and he got like a couple thousand views, and he was like, "Well, you're going to see more of that from me," and he just couldn't keep it up, man. Not to speak for Sanch or anything, but
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's just not within him as well. And I think that's why I really enjoyed having him on the channel. When he was really making a lot of regular content. I hope he gets back at it soon.
yeah.
But
By the way, for everybody, this is my second ever podcast. My first one was a couple of years ago on his channel.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Well,
shout out.
you're one of the guys that really wanted to push the community here on YouTube, and that just speaks to the positivity that we're really trying to keep in, I think, our everyday lives. And
And
that's why I really wanted to get you on here too,
I love this.
it's a good community.
Yeah, that's why I do the SUPERSETMAN challenge. I knew that I wished to see my favorite channels back when I was just a fan do this, and I never saw. I saw it once with Mark and Mikey, but
Yep.
they did like a Ronnie Coleman Phil hit something, like one had an opinion or something. But I would have loved to see collaborations like this, and this is why I'm doing this, man. Because I knew as a fan how cool is it to see. Because think about it, you're a fan of Nick Straight and Power or EP09 Super Setman. To see these guys collaborate, Ivan Bodybuilding, like all these channels that inspired me. I would love to see this more often. So this
And
this
I
why
get
that's why I'm doing this, man. I mean,
Yeah, man.
and
And
it
I get
helps
more and more
everybody. It
comments.
helps everybody.
No, it does help everybody, but the fans do enjoy it too. I get comments on a lot of videos. I just had Krishan on recently, and people were like, I've got you, Mark, and Krishan. These are all my favorite channels, and now they're all in one place.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
cool. It's great for the fans. It is awesome for me because, like I said, the whole reason I started the channel was so I could scratch that itch of wanting to talk about bodybuilding. Now I get to talk about it with some of the best commentators in the world and some of the best bodybuilders in the world too, right? So
Yeah.
that's a lot of motivation for me to be able to continue being a part of that content
Like
creation.
meeting your heroes. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's awesome. I've got like when you've got pro bodybuilders that are asking you questions about your training and your content, like man, that's cool.
yeah,
Frankly, that's cool.
that's very
Um,
cool.
no, it is. It's awesome. So I think the content collaboration is going to continue. Actually, I can see it increasing over the next bit here.
Hope so.
So that's something that will definitely continue to. I mean, we talk on a regular basis anyway, but yeah, next podcast we'll definitely get you back on with. We'll get Mark, we'll get Krishan, we'll get a few people on. We'll work out the
I'm
time,
looking
but
forward to that.
before I let you go, I do want to ask, what does the future hold for Superset Man? Where do you see the channel in say a year from now?
That's a good question. I will continue to do what I'm already doing, but I will always try to bring something new. That's for sure. I mean, I have some type of content that it didn't get the exposure I hope so. I don't know if anyone saw the Super Setman Tunes episode 1. It was I tried to do some animation stuff. So I had like a cartoon of
Oh,
Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler in Dragon Ball Z style. That video got like 1,000 views only. But I'm pretty
I
sure
do
if
remember that. I do.
so things like that, expect or if you saw my last videos where I'm using some AI tools to clone bodybuilders' voices,
The voiceovers with Phil Heath and Ronnie
voiceovers,
Coleman.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what you have to expect from me. Like continue to see what you're already seeing for years, and always expect for something new. That's my
You're
that's my
push
prediction.
No, you're pushing forward, man. You're pushing forward. You know, you're always pushing that envelope. You can see the evolution in your content over the years, and that's what I would expect. Are you a big Dragon Ball Z fan?
Yeah, huge,
Yeah. Yeah, me
huge.
too. Yeah. I've always been a big Dragon Ball Z fan, man. A lot of pro bodybuilders are. That's why,
Yeah,
Wesley Vissers, that's why he started bodybuilding altogether, because
yeah,
that's what he wanted was that physique, right? Phil Heath, he's a big Dragon Ball Z fan. Yeah,
yeah.
man.
His dog is called Bormai, I believe.
Yeah,
Phil's
so there
dog.
you go.
Yeah.
I actually watched a comparison video. There's one on YouTube. I should send it to you. I don't know if you've seen it. There was actually somebody that did a comparison of physiques in Dragon Ball Z to who would win a bodybuilding competition these
Yeah, I
days.
remember that. Yeah.
I was like, man, I wish I would have thought about this, right?
Yeah.
It was genius,
Yeah.
genius. And
Really.
I actually thought at the start of it, I was like, okay, I think I know who's going to win this. I think I know who's going to win. And exactly who I thought would win it actually did. I don't know if I want to spoil it for fans or not, but yeah. Actually, I don't even remember who made it, but it was exactly who I thought it was.
Yeah, Dragon Ball was huge for me since I was a kid, and then when I grew up, it stuck with me.
Actually, that was a prediction that I did have right. I'm just going to say it. It was Ten Shinhan. He ended up winning.
Oh,
Dude,
oh, oh. Yeah, he
that
was
guy
just,
was massive, dude. He was the biggest guy that like huge, huge man.
yeah.
That I guess really thinking about it, that's part of what got me into training back in the day too, you know?
Yeah, it was probably a factor when you see all those guys flexing and all the veins on
Yeah.
their arms and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and always training. Always wanting to train constantly, Always training. Got to get better. It really does make a lot of sense. I should start thinking about a video that I could work that into, bodybuilders that have their origins in Dragon Ball Z and Y and things like that. That'd be a good video.
I'll definitely watch it.
That would be a good one. Right on. Well, listen, man, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I really do appreciate you coming on. Like I said, next time we'll get you on with a few of the other boys. We'll reach out to them in advance. I've got a few weeks of traveling that I got to do here, but once I get back, we'll see if we can nail something down. And I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all the insight, and we'll do it
Thanks,
again
man.
soon, man. And thank you for continuing to make this community more inclusive of all of us content creators. I really do feel that you were instrumental in that over the last year.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, right on, man. All right, well, let's call it there, and we'll catch up with you guys next time.
See you soon.